If you've ever listened to the EntreMD podcast and thought, wow, this episode changed the way I think about my business, I want you to imagine multiplying that by 10,000. That's what happens at EntreMD Live. It's not just another conference. It's a powerful, physician-only room where we roll up our sleeves and build the kind of businesses that create freedom, not frustration. We're diving into how to build a dominant brand, how to grow a profitable team, how to use AI to accomplish more by doing less, and how to create a business that generates your next million in revenue without sacrificing your health or family. It's happening June 7th in Atlanta. And if you're a doctor who's starting out or scaling to multiple seven figures, this room was built for you. If you've gotten value from this podcast, you need to be in that room. And don't come alone. Share this with the doctors in your world. We rise together. This is the EntreMD movement. Go to www.entremd.com/live to grab your tickets today. This is an event to not miss.
You can have it all, but it's not going to come to you. Please don't believe that lie. It's not going to magically happen. Nobody's coming to make it happen. You're going to decide, I want to have it all. And once you make that decision, you need to make the second decision. I am willing to find out and do whatever is required for me to have it all. Hi, docs. Welcome to the EntreMD podcast, where it's all about helping amazing physicians just like you embrace entrepreneurship so you can have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on your terms. I'm your host, Dr. Una. I have finally figured out what you need to do if you don't feel like recording content. Just record it. So this is going to be an absolutely amazing episode. And I was like, oh my goodness, I need to go record an episode. And what I did was I said, for my people, the people in my world, the doctors that, I'm called to serve and all of that, what is challenging for them? What is a problem they're facing right now I can make go away? And I thought about that. And it was very easy. I was literally in a Facebook group yesterday, and there were a number of posts where people were like, they were so upset. And they're so upset because maybe they're in a specific specialty, especially primary care and stuff like that. And they read a post about an orthopedic surgeon making so much more than they are. Or they read about somebody like a different kind of clinician, like a CNA, something like that. And they're like, not CNA. Please scratch that, CRNA. And they're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe they're making this much. I'm so upset and things like that. And I get it, right? I get it. We really, trained to become doctors, and we had seen a model of what life was like for doctors. Unfortunately, by the time we were done with our training, that model had gone, right? Like, when the people ahead of us, practiced, it was really the doctor-patient relationship. We didn't have multiple types of clinicians. We didn't have private equity in the healthcare space, at least if there was, not in any way like what we have now. It was not as economic of a space. We had monopoly, even though that was not the intent, but that's just the way it was. And so you could hang a shingle and they would come. You could do good medicine and the money will follow and all of those things. But the truth of the matter is that things have changed. It's not like that anymore. And it's not going back to the way that it used to be. And I felt that. And I remember, coming in the comments and saying, guys, listen, like, first of all, there's so many people who make a truckload more than doctors make. I mean, when I'm in a room with entrepreneurs, like seven-figure entrepreneurs, multi-seven-figure entrepreneurs, like 100,000, 200,000, 500,000, that's not a whole lot of money. Like, that's not the way they think about that, right? And so there's so many people with much less education that are making more and stuff like that. And I said, listen, guys, like, we got a really great education, but our really great education put us in a position to take really great care of patients, which we do. But being paid better, being paid what you think you're worth and things like that, it answers to different rules. It answers to a different skill set. It answers to a different type of education. It is not our medical education because some, they're like, oh my goodness, I'm so mad. I've been, I went to school for a gazillion years, which is true, but it makes us excellent at what we do. But we do need to stack on a different skill set. Guys, this is the sole reason why EntreMD exists, because I want you to think about this. Your clinical education got you ready to take really great care of people, the end. It did not put you in a position to make better pay, to have financial freedom, to have time freedom. We learned nothing about that. And we need to tell ourselves the truth. We learned nothing about that. Okay. So it's a different skill set. Like if you want to be paid better or you want to have a, like for my entrepreneurs, you want to be paid better. We had a doctor who was an employed physician who learned the principles that we teach in the EntreMD Business School and made a six-figure bonus. Right? It didn't answer to his medical. It's not because he did better surgeries. It's a completely different skill set. If you're going to run a business and it's going to be very successful and you run it in such a way that it is profitable, it can pay you, it can pay your team, it can give you your time back, it can work without you. That is a completely different skill set. We have a doctor who came into the EntreMD Business School and she was burnt out in her private practice, which she'd had for over a decade, I think at the time. And, she hated the practice and she was like, my goodness, I wish I could just get someone from private equity firm to come buy this so I can be done with it. But you see, she was running that on her clinical skills. She comes into the EntreMD Business School. She starts learning the business skills. She starts learning, how to hire the right people, how to lead your team, how to give them revenue generating activities, how to manage them by KPIs and all of these things. And now she has a practice where she's working 2.5 days a week and she had her first $1 million month. What was that? Was it more CME? No, and the CME is not bad. It would just make her a better clinician. But if she's going to have a successful business, that answers to a different skill set. Guys, the education we got was fantastic for taking care of patients. But if we are going to win, if we're going to have financial freedom, if we're going to live life on our terms, if we're going to do all of that, different skills are required. They're required. And we may go around and we may say it's not fair and all of these things. When has that changed anything? We have an opportunity to change everything. Okay. So I decided, right? So I was like, you know what? Let me come and talk about 7 must-haves if you're going to have it all. Because you can have it all. You can have the great clinical career. You can have the time freedom. You can have the financial freedom. You can have the family. You can have all of those things, right? But if you are going to, there is a price to pay. Guys, none of this is not going to fall in our lap. That's not the way this is going to work. We're going to do some stuff. If you have a business that you're running and it's not hitting certain revenue milestones, there's something needs to give. If you're running a business and, the numbers look good, the profit and loss statement is good, but you're like, I want to throw it all away because you're burnt out. Your team is driving you nuts. You don't have time with your family, all of those stuff. Something needs to give. Even if you don't get the 7 things I'm going to show you, because I'm going to show you 7 must-haves, even if you don't get that, if you get this concept of if something is not going the way I want it to go in my life, I need to stop and I need to decide I'm going to change it. I'm going to find out what is required for me to change it, and I'm going to do it. If you can walk away with that attitude, you're not going to be a victim of the healthcare space we find ourselves in. But if you don't have that attitude, unfortunately, you will be, because nobody's coming to save us. Nobody's coming to help us. Nobody's coming to make it stop. We're going to make that decision. I'm going to make that decision. This is what I want to build. This is the way I want my life to be. And that's it. Okay. All right. So what is the first thing? The very first thing is this: be clear on what you want. Be clear on what you want. Unfortunately, we're surrounded by so much noise that most people have lost touch with what they want. So people are like, oh, this person earns more than me. But is that what you want to earn? This person has 25 people on their team. Well, do you want a team of 25 or do you want a small boutique business, right? Oh, this person went on X number of vacations. Do you even like traveling? The more you're in alignment with what it is you actually want, the happier you'll be. The more it is that you're deriving what it is you want from what other people have, the more miserable you'll be, because it is a slippery slope that never ends. So, so for doctors, they say, oh, this doctor is making 500. I'm only making 200. Okay. But when you get to 500, let's say that's what you did, there will be somebody earning 650. And when you get to 650, there's somebody else who's going to be making 1 million. And when you get to 1 million, there's somebody who's going to be making 5 million. This is a never ending story. You have to decide, what is it that I want? What do I want? Right? What do I want? For instance, with my private practice, we opened a second location. Okay. And we're navigating the second location. We get a doctor for that location, whole team, all the stuff, navigating. The second one was closer to my home. So I'm like, oh, that will even be easier, blah, blah, blah. I didn't like it. This is not what I want. I don't want to have 10 locations. I don't want to have this big, ginormous private practice. I want to have a private practice that's a lab where I can come and experiment, and I can come and help all these thousands of private practice owners and let them know, hey, this works. This is what I did and it worked. So could I have? Yes. Do I want it? No. So what did I do? I shut it down. No apologies, no remorse, no shame, no nothing. I just shut it down. That's not what I want. So the question for you is, what do you want? What do you want? Some people just build a big team because they see people building a big team, but that's not what they want. That's not the kind of business what do you want? There's some people who don't want to work. They don't want to work clinically at all. Some people want to work clinically to the day they die. There's no right or wrong. What do you want? It's really important. So a lot of times, like in the Entrepreneurship Business School, when I have live coaching sessions with them, when we do our 7-figure consults, I'm like, okay, they ask, this, should I do this? I'm like, okay, let's stop. What is it that you want? Because the thing is this, we can build a business system around it and you can get what you want. But when you want what you get, when you get what you want, I want you to want what you get, right? Like, what do you want? What somebody else is doing doesn't matter. It's immaterial. Okay, so get clear. Because just saying, I want to make this much money, if that's not what you want, not going to make you happy. I want a job that pays this, may not make you happy. Maybe you'll be happier with a job that gives you more flexibility and a little less money, right? What do you want? You have to know what you want. Okay, number 2, you have to be clear on your values, okay? You are always going to have more options than you can ever say yes to. You are always going to have that in your business and in your life. You're always going to have more. And so the question is, what are your values? What ranks above what? Because there are things that rank above other things. I'll give you an example. When it comes to me, when I think about my life and I start ranking things, number one is my relationship with God. I am not willing to build a business. That means I have to sacrifice that, because if I could only have one thing, that's what I want to have. And so saying no to certain things becomes very easy. Saying yes to certain things becomes very easy. Why? I'm clear on my values. Number 2 is my family. Okay. So right after that is my family, is my relationship with them and all of those things, which means what? The business comes after my family. And so when it comes to making decisions, if it is a decision that will favor my business and hurt my family, I'm not going to do it because my family ranks above my business. Right? After that is what I call legacy, my legacy play. And so in that, business could be in it, ministry could be in it, like all kinds of things. But it's like, when I'm gone, this is what I'll be known for. When I'm 90, this is the difference I created in the world I'll be celebrating. That comes third. That even comes before what is traditionally known as business. For me, the business and legacy is kind of mixed together because my business is my legacy play, but my business is my legacy play because legacy comes above business. And so if there's something that I will do today that will put $1 million in my bank account, but will hurt my legacy, I'm not going to do it because I'm very clear on what comes before what. Okay, in my business, people come before profits. And so if I need to acquire profit and in the process I have to hurt a person, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. This is why I won't teach things I don't do, because I'm wasting people's time. I know I cannot give what I don't have. I'm not going to do it. This is why I don't make decisions to get a quick buck. I make decisions to transform the lives of people. And then I receive a thank you note called money. This was very interesting. I just got back from a meeting with my team. We're working on Trendy Live. One of the things I do is I attend the event many times before I attend the event. And what I mean by that is I go from the beginning. Okay, so they come into the building, they walk through the door. What do they see? How does this make them feel? This, like, I go through then session 1, then session 2, then at lunchtime and this, I go through everything, because what I want is when somebody comes in one way, they may come in feeling, stuck, and they may come feeling maybe even a little hopeless, or they may just, like maybe they're cynical, right? And they come in with these limiting beliefs, and they come in with strategy that they don't know and all of those things. I'm fine with that. But when they leave, I need them to leave inspired. I need them to leave knowing what is possible for them. I need for them to know, like, this is how it can be possible. I need them to know this is the absolute best resource to go with to make these things possible. I need them to have created some networks and all of those things, right? So we're having the meeting and we're working through all these things. And she says, this is very fascinating. And she says, most people don't do events this way. Most people, the leader is the money. Like, how can we maximize how much revenue we're going to make? And don't get me wrong, we are going to make revenue at the events, right? But she's like, but you're leading with, how can I help these people? How can I help them change? How can I help them overcome limiting beliefs? What will be confusing? How do we overcome that piece that is confusing? And all of that stuff. And she's like, this is amazing. I've not seen it done like this. And that's because in my value system is people above profits. Now, I talk about this all the time. So profit is right under people. So I'm not saying people then, if there's any profit, will take it. That business doesn't work that way. It's an economic sport. But in my value ladder, I know what comes first, right? And so you have to know your values. And that way, when you see all the shiny objects and stuff like that, it's so easy to say no. And a lot of times, the things that will ruin us are not the bad things. They're the good things that we shouldn't be doing at all. Right? And so what helps you see those things and say no to them is your value system. So you want to be clear on what that is. Okay. All right. Number 3 is be clear on your dominoes. Guys, everybody has a zone of genius. Okay. There are places where you thrive. And when I say zone of genius, there's an intersection, right? The intersection is, this is the thing that creates the biggest shift in my business, and I'm good at it, and I enjoy doing it. So we want to have these 3 things, okay? You don't want a zone of genius that doesn't make any money, right? Doesn't have any value in your business and stuff like that. These are things that make you a lot of money, you're really good at them, and you enjoy doing them in no particular order. But these 3 things need to be there. Okay, the clearer you are on what those are, the more you can live a life that leads to massive growth, massive change, massive transformation, making quantum leaps. You get the business not profitable. The team helps you be even more profitable and gives you your time back so you can focus on other things. And so, because if you're going to have it all, you need the bandwidth to have it all. You need the team to have it all. You need the money to have it all. Like, there are a number of things that need to be in place. So you want to be clear on what those are. And it may take you a minute to find out what they are. And if you don't have the answer right this second, that's okay. You just keep looking till you do. So for instance, for me, I've taken time to look at this, and when it comes to my zone of genius, there are 3 things there. And one is content creation, and not just any content creation, but transformational content. Like, how do you create content that changes people's lives? That people are like, my life was like this till I started listening to your podcast. My life was like this till I joined the EntreMD Business School. My life. So even with, the curriculum, all those things, like, it's all content, but it's transformational content. That is a zone of genius for me. It's a zone of genius, and it's a zone of genius I've really worked on. And so, when people listen to my content, watch my videos, are in my programs and stuff, they change. Okay. The second one is coaching. And again, it's somewhat similar to content, but of course it's different, right? And that is, being able to pull out the greatness on the inside of people, whether those are clients or those are team members or people in our audience, in our ecosystem, but that ability to pull it out. Again, zone of genius for me, I can see it. When I come in contact with someone, I can see it. And that's why, they ask me, oh, should I join the EntreMD Business School? Will it work for me? Absolutely. Because I can see it. I can see what they're doing, the idea they have, how it can become this thing that's so much bigger than they can imagine. I can see how they can get there. I can see the pathways. I can see the obstacles that will be there and how they can overcome. It's very weird, but this is my zone of genius. I can see it. And a lot of times people will say this. They'll say, thank you for believing in me before I could even believe in myself, because they may not see it. I see it. And sometimes I see it so much so that I don't even tell them. I tell them maybe 5 or 6 milestones back, because if I tell them the milestone that I do see is scary for them. It's like I would see someone who hasn't started a business at all, and I know, oh my goodness, this person is going to do this on a national scale. This person is going to have an institute doing this thing. This person is going to be synonymous. Her name is going to be synonymous with this. And they haven't even started a business yet. They're asking me if I think they can start a business, but I can see it. And I know how to get them there. And so that's a zone of genius for me. Okay. And then the third one is strategy. That's my jam. Like, you just give me a dry erase board and you give me a problem. I'm like, let's go. Right. And so these are 3 things that I've noticed, like, I'm really good at them. And again, if you think about my business model, if I'm coaching at the highest level, creating transformational content at the highest level, delivering strategy at the highest level, what happens to my people? Massive results. And we've had that. Like, the EntreMD Business School is about to be 5 years old. And we've had unbelievable transformation that doctors have experienced. Since I know it's my zone of genius, since I know know this is the domino, it takes us to number 4, which is then live in the 20%, which means since I know these 3 things are the things that they create the biggest results in my business, I enjoy doing them. I don't feel like I'm working when I'm doing them. I enjoy doing them and I'm really good at them. Then I should spend 80% of my time there. These are 20% activities. I should spend 80% of my time doing that because these are the things that matter the most. Why is this important? Because this is the thing. You can't have it all if you can't figure out how to get your time back. You can't. And if you don't figure out what the domino is, you're going to spend so much time doing the things that barely move the needle. But if I spend my time doing the dominoes, then what happens is I could get so much more done by doing a whole lot less. And then what does that mean? I bought back my time to do other things, to expand and to really focus on other areas of my life and stuff like that. So living in the 20%, spending 80% of your time doing the dominoes. Okay, number 5, the never ending task of building a rockstar team. Okay, so now I identify as a team builder. Okay, I just build teams because I realize that the impact I can have is not finite. Like my impact is limitless. And so I then decide to create as much bandwidth as I can to have as much of an impact as I can. And okay, now this brings us to something, right? We talked about values earlier. This is under legacy is a huge value for me that and it's not because I want my name to be on a monument somewhere or whatever, but something that is very important to me, and I know it about myself, so there's no point denying it, is I want to help as many people as I can help before I leave the planet. That's what I want to do. And so for me, building a team is not even just about having it all, but I can't do what I need to do without it. But if you're going to have it all, you need your time. And if you're going to get your time back, one of the things you must master is building team. Start from wherever you are. If the thing is you don't have a team member at all, get a virtual assistant and start practicing getting things off your plate. So you get stuff off your plate, you come up higher, you're doing higher value tasks. You get another person on your team, you get stuff off your plate, you do higher level tasks. That's what you do. And you keep mounting higher and higher. The only way to keep mounting higher and higher is to get things off your plate. So it's not a thing you do once. You may say, oh, people suck. I've hired somebody before and it was bad. Well, get over it. Like give yourself grace and go like, okay, that was a bad hire. Like if you're in medical school and you failed one test, what are you going to do? Drop out of medical school? No, you go back and study and then pass the test. Okay, so you hired a team member, it didn't work. Great. What did that teach me? What did I learn? What should I do differently? Where did I show up the right way? Maybe I didn't train this person. Maybe I didn't onboard them properly. Maybe I never even let them know how they win on this team. Maybe I hired the wrong person because I didn't want to, I heard Dr. Una talk about the 3x3 method and have at least, 3 interviews and I met the person, they were a warm body. I just hired them. Okay, so fine. Now that doesn't work. But then you go build a team. You start again. Now that you've acquired wisdom, you know a few ways not to do it. You go do it again. But if we refuse to master this, the opportunity cost is we cannot have it all. We cannot. Without a team, we cannot have it all. All right. Number 6, we must master overcoming challenges. I used to run away from challenges. Oh, why is this happening? All this stuff. But guess what? I'm 46 years old. I have never had a year. I've never had a month. Maybe I've never had a week where I did not have a challenge. This has never happened. And I've talked to a lot of people and they have the same experience. So apparently challenges, problems, crises, that is part of the human experience. Okay. So since it is part of the human experience, if I am going to have it all and I'm not going to stop and fall apart for 3 years every time something doesn't go my way, and please don't misunderstand me. I'm not trying to minimize this. Like, of course there are challenges. Of course I'm not trying to minimize that, but we have to become better at overcoming them. We have to become better at navigating them. We have to decide in advance, this is how I respond if something like this were to happen. We have to put contingencies in place. So if I have a bad week, I just need to take the week off, or I need to take 2 weeks off. This is how my company can still run. This is how my life can still run. This is how my family will still be cared for, or whatever it is. But we have to become better at navigating challenges because everybody gets them, right? But some people it takes them 2 minutes to recover. And some people, it takes them 2 years. I'm not talking about like there's some things that might take 2 years, but what I'm saying is something that will take someone else 2 minutes to overcome, it may take somebody else 2 years. So in that case, the person who's doing it in 2 years needs to learn from the person doing it in 2 minutes. Like, how are you doing this? Well, we have to get good at it, and we can practice every day. Something doesn't go my way. What is my response? Somebody leaves me a 1-star review. What is my response? The first time I got a 1-star review, it took me 3 days to recover. Okay. It doesn't take me 3 days anymore. Okay. So how long does it take you to recover? You had a launch, it failed. How long does it take you to recover? Do you hire somebody and then for the next 2 years, you're like, it didn't work, so I'm not going to hire somebody for 2 years. Like, how long does it take us to recover? Are we getting bent out of shape when the inevitable challenges of life show up? Right? So please don't hear what I'm not saying. Of course, there are things we have to go through. And of course, there's some that will take longer than others, but can we get better? Can we get better? Okay. And then number 7, finally, something, I must have an army of mentors and coaches. I must have an army of them. I don't have the time. And when I say army, please, I want to be careful. Oh my goodness, please don't hear what I didn't say. I'm not saying go hire everybody on the planet. I'm not saying that, right? But I am saying that you need people, and you may need different people in different seasons or whatever, but you need people. Okay. One of the things that we've made a commitment to doing, I discovered this shortcut, mentorship, coaching, all of these things in 2017. So a number of years ago. And I have not stopped since, because I'm like, oh my goodness, this person learned this. They went to the school of hard knocks and all of that stuff. And I can come into their world, and in 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, I can get it all. Please count me in. And so it is a strategy. It is a strategy that I use, right? And so that's the reason, one of the things about the EntreMD Business School is that we built it in a way where it grows with you. You know what I mean? Because I used to think about, I was like, am I being a hypocrite? Because, I would tell people, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room, like, all of these kind of things. And then I'm telling people, I don't think it's time for you to leave the EntreMD Business School yet. We have people who've been there for all 5 years that the school has been in existence. But isn't that odd? Like, what if they've outgrown the room? And I sat and I thought, but I was like, but they haven't. And I don't know why it was confusing to me, but it took me a minute to get it. And I was like, oh, everybody in the room is growing. Everybody in the room is growing. So when you come to the EntreMD Business School, literally every 90 days, it's like a different school because the people are different. People will come in and they go into the vault, because we have every recording since forever. And they see people running multi-million-dollar businesses now, but they're able to watch the videos from when they were still employed physicians. And they're like, oh my goodness, right? So because the community is growing, it's hard to outgrow the room, right? Because you might think, oh, they're all, at this level. No, they were at that level. The person who was doing the 6-figure business is now doing multiple 6. The person who was doing multiple 6 is now doing 7. The person who was doing 7 is doing multiple 7. The person who's done multiple 7 for a number of years is now, like dangerously close to 8 and stuff like that. So, and I was like, yes. And that was the whole reason for the community, so that we have, not only is your mentor growing, because I've never been stagnant. My business has continued to grow. I have continued to grow. My brand has continued to grow. My output has continued to grow. My level of strategy has continued to grow. So the mentor of the community is constantly growing. The community is constantly growing. And then we're adding in people who are like total rock stars. I was like, that's the reason why. Right. And so, because my intent was, I couldn't say this when I started the school, right? But when I started the school, one of the things I said is like, this is the one school you'll never want to graduate from, but I could never say it, right? I didn't have the confidence to say it at the time. That was what was in my mind. And that's what I wrote in my journal, because I'm like, we will be the gift that keeps giving. We will be the people who are there. So we've had people who came in, they're employed physicians, then they launched their business, then they grew their business. Then they crossed 6 figures, multiple 6 figures, 7 figures. Now they're on the track building businesses that can work, building the team that can run the business. So that ultimately they can have businesses that can run without them. And then they can exit if they like, but if they don't like, they can keep it. And now they can become disruptors. Like whatever it is, their true, desire in life, like some aspect of society where they just want to fix it. In a profitable way, of course, but they want to fix it. Now they have the freedom to do that, right? And so if you want to launch, grow, scale, exit, disrupt, we have a space for you. There's a space for you. Why? Because I know that physicians need this almost more than everyone else, because everybody else knows about coaching and stuff like that. But, physicians, not so much. We didn't have much of that in our training. It's not a model that we're familiar with. And so we built the EntreMD Business School such that for each stage as you go, because each stage, as you break into one stage and you're like, yeah, we're here, it also comes with a unique set of challenges. And so we're positioned to help you solve problems the entire space, right? So if you're going to have it all, this is what you need. You need to be clear on what you want. You need to be clear on your values. You need to be clear on your dominos. You need to live in the 20%. You live like those 20% activity, the dominos, you live there. That's what you do. You build it, you embrace the never ending task of building a rockstar team. You master overcoming challenges, and you have an army of mentors and coaches. You can have it all, but it's not going to come to you. Please don't believe that lie. And if you're there, I want to invite you to come out of there. It's not going to come to you. It's not going to magically happen. Nobody's coming to make it happen. You're going to decide, I want to have it all. And once you make that decision, you need to make the second decision. I am willing to find out and do whatever is required for me to have it all. And I just gave you 7 things. You can start from there. But this is the thing. And this is my dream for every physician. I've talked about 2025 being the year of the physician. And I just want you to dream for a second with me. I want you to think of your life where you have these 5 freedoms. You have the freedom to practice medicine on your terms. You have the freedom to live life on your terms. You have the freedom. You have financial freedom. You have time freedom. You have the time. You have the freedom to practice medicine on your terms, live life on your terms. You have financial freedom, and you have the time to use your time the way you want to. And you have the freedom to pursue your purpose, whatever you think that is. For me, what I'm doing with EntreMD, this is my purpose. This is one of the big reasons why I'm here on planet Earth. This is a problem I'm called to solve. And I have the time freedom. I have the freedom to do it. If I didn't figure out practicing medicine on my terms, if I didn't figure out living life on my terms, if I didn't figure out time freedom and financial freedom, I wouldn't be free to do this. I would not be. So I want you to imagine that. And I want you to say yes to it. Say yes to it. Pay the price for it. Walk into it, right? Maybe you've been on the fence about the EntreMD Business School for a long time. We have 5 years of evidence that this works. It's not just me. It's not just people in private practice. It's not just people in DPC and DSC. It's not just coaches, not just consultants. It's not just people in product-based business. It's all of them. And they are growing and growing in their 5 freedoms. So if that's you, the time to apply is like right now. Right now, entremd.com/business is the time, and get yourself in the container that lets you live this life. Now, whether you join or not, right? I've given you 7 things, do that. But this is for you if you've been on the fence for years, for months, for weeks. What do you have to lose? What are you actually afraid of? What do you have to lose? So go fill out your application, entremd.com/business. But for everyone, start working on these 7 things. Unsubscribe from the lie. You can live a life that will really rock your world. And I really would want that for you. I want you to walk in those 5 freedoms. I want you to be a vision board for other doctors to show them what is possible. Okay? So go start working on this. Share this episode with the doctors in your world. And I'll see you on the next episode of the EntreMD podcast.